Photojournalism Award. So Svet, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. So first, before I, open it up to the audience, can you just kind of, tell us about your collection and what was going on, what you were seeing, how you were feeling and experiencing while you were out there in the front lines?
Sure. I did prepare a little something. I hope you guys don't mind if I read it. So, my name is Svet. Thank you all for coming tonight. I wanted to thank the Ginsberg Family Foundation, the Orlando Museum of Art, and everyone who helped make this exhibit possible, including Blue Star Press, the Ukraine House, and the Embassy in DC. I'm humbled to be included amongst the talented contributors of this book who are putting their lives on the line to document this war. My work explores the trauma caused by displacement and dismemberment of family and home. As a child born in Kiev, Russia, orphaned at birth, I'm drawn to telling the stories of youths whose childhoods are divergent or unstable due to geopolitical circumstances out of their control. Children on War's Playground focuses on the lives of Ukrainian children since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, 2022. The stories are heartbreaking. I first arrived a week after the invasion started. I was thrown into the worst parts of this conflict. I spent my mornings at funerals, my afternoons watching fathers say tearful goodbyes to their families boarding trains, and my nights in bunkers listening to the echoes of artillery fire. As a photojournalist, what I experienced changed, depending on where I was in the country, but my purpose never did. Every moment I captured felt important. I have now spent over 5 months documenting this cruel and unnecessary attack of Ukraine and democracy. The landscape of this war is changing daily. As of September 2022, over 1,000 children have been killed in Ukraine. Some have been tortured and their bodies burned. Others have sustained injuries from shelling and are spending birthdays and holidays in hospitals getting fitted for prosthetics. Thousands are accepting a new life of living underground, dreaming of the day when they can go back to school or just to dance class. The rest, those who account for the over 5 million refugees who were forced to flee the country since the war started, are doing their best to assimilate in places that will never feel like home. In my first trip, I witnessed the daily life of refugees in Poland, the bloodshed in the trenches, and the horrific war crimes in Bucha, a modern-day genocide. My most recent trip, this past November, to Lviv and Kherson, illuminated a more intimate impact of this humanitarian crisis. Kherson has been under Russian occupation since February and was finally liberated before becoming the new front line on the Dnipro River. The uncertainty and fear was palpable as children stood in line for food and water through active shelling. In Lviv, hospitals are overpopulated with soldiers recovering from injuries on the front lines. Holding onto photographs, they wait eagerly to hug their sons and daughters. An aftermath story of this war is developing in real time as it continues. The beautiful thing about children is the joy they find in the most unlikely circumstances. They embody the Ukrainian spirit in its purest form. They run, play, and laugh in the face of evil that has become their reality. As they grow older, some of them will be drafted into the war as young adults. Some will help raise the siblings that their parents died to protect, and some will never return to their childhood homes or cities again. I will continue to photograph their stories, the ones that emulsify the innocence that war destroys. I ask that as the world starts to turn away from the reports on the news and the headlines in the paper, to recognize that the shadows of this period in history will follow us through the eyes of and stories of Ukrainian children as they find a more permanent identity.
Before I start hogging the mic, I'd like to open it up for questions. I think the easiest way might just be to raise your hand. So I see a question back here.
Yes. Yes, I want to know what photographers like you who are doing this right in the midst of a war, how do you deal with your own mental health so that you can continue?
Thank you. of the atrocities that happen in life, we definitely take on all of that trauma as part of who we are. And moving forward, moving forward is different than before we leave to cover these things. We are different. Every time we see these things happen, how do you deal with it? I think you become a better person by being part of these experiences. You take people's stories and you make them your own, and I think we trade in that way. You know, they become part of you and you become part of them, and the tragedy of it is part of the beauty of what makes us human and what we have to survive.